in your diary?
What's in your diary?
What's in your diary?
What's in your?
Hey, it's Ty.
And it's your boy Mike.
And welcome to another episode of the It's Not Your Diary podcast.
Hey Tyra,
Hey.
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How important are emotions in daily life, and why are they so hard to deal with?
Honestly, I feel like emotions are one of the most important things for us. And in our day-to-day lives, emotions is like everything. Like how we respond to things, our emotions control if we get out of bed, how we interact with people day to day, how we interact while traveling day to day. So to me, they seem like the most important. How about you?
Yeah, in every aspect, anything that you do, your emotions are going to be attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they so hard to deal with? One being that we're human, and we have to work with other humans to work out our emotions.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most difficult part.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, for men, like, I think we're so used to bottling everything up.
Yeah.
You know, and from past experience, I've learned that the bottling up doesn't really do as well for us.
Yeah, and I too think men are taught differently from women. I feel like women are kind of taught like we're emotional creatures, but then men, even as little boys, they kind of tell y'all don't cry, toughen up. If you try to express how you feel, it's kind of like I don't care. It's discrediting y'all emotions. So it's, I don't know, guys just always are like completely out of touch with their emotions, have anger issues because they don't really know how to control them. And then it's like you need to cry. That's the healthy part of life. But men are told like not to cry. So it's like you're taught at an early age not to have healthy emotions or not to handle them in a healthy way.
Yeah, facts. And honestly, I had the blessing to grow up with my mom, who always told me to express myself, never be afraid to say how I feel or cry. Like if I had to, like, go ahead. And yeah, you're so right. Like it's such a, like, men are held to this unreachable standard that you have to have this machismo act on all the time, this facade, when we're just as emotional as females are. Like, although we do like love to just move forward and think forward, like we have to stop in that moment and really filter out what is going on, what's truly going on.
Exactly. Here. Yeah, I think it's super healthy, like no matter what's going on, to understand how you feel every day that you wake up. Like, okay, how am I feeling? And if I'm feeling a certain way, why am I feeling like this? And then how do I handle the way I'm feeling in a healthy way? So that if I'm in a bad mood, it's not lingering. Or
have you ever felt like something bad goes wrong between you and somebody else, and you see a wall, a bridge between you guys? And typically, don't you think that that's a emotional bridge that you guys both need to cross? Like, for example, like, there was one time I was working at Costco, and there was an altercation between two of my coworkers, and I was listening to both sides, and I asked at the end of it all, I said, "Are you willing to forgive this person?" And she said, "No, never." And don't you think like that's because they have this emotion, this hatred, this anger built like on that,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like that actually happened with me and a friend who I was close with for a really long time, but it was like we did have a big falling out. And then I do agree, like I always felt like I need to reach out to her. We need to work through this. And then it was like we did, like we sat down. We didn't get to like all the details, but it was like, okay, now I'm in a place where I can move past this, even though we probably won't be friends ever again or be close ever again. At least we talked about it and were able to move past it. But I mean, how about you? Like, do you think is necessary for you when you do have situations like that? Like, do you always feel like you let go of your pride to kind of, if a person doesn't want to talk to you, or if you do have an altercation, do you feel like your pride ever stops you from communicating with a person?
No, I don't. I don't think that's ever been a problem with me. I've always been one to try to make amends, and even if, like you said, like we weren't ever going to be friends again, as long as we left off on the right foot, and sometimes that's not possible because, you have to, work together. But as long as I do my part in it, then I feel okay about it. Like, as long as they know how I feel about the situation and that, hey, things didn't work out, but that's okay. I still, feel the same way about you. Wish things, like anything to make their lens a little clearer and their perception of me, like, hey, we're still cool in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? But no, not really. I wouldn't say, like, I'm always down to talk. Somebody we got something needs to be addressed. All right, but tough combo, but okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. And I definitely think those tough conversations are hard because sometimes we don't know other people's emotional state to want to talk to them, but it's still necessary. I feel like sometime recently I heard like how there are people in our family sometimes, and we all kind of create this environment for them because they are emotionally unhealthy, and sometimes we tiptoe around them, but that's not healthy, and that's a very toxic situation.
Right.
And sometimes we feel like we can't distance ourselves because that's family, but we can't talk to them about what we need to talk to them about because everybody's tiptoeing around it.
I feel like when we do deal with those tough things, I think accountability is so important.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with a person, and when you are thinking about the problem, you just want to address the problem and get it over with.
Right.
But you have to remember that there's a person standing in front of the problem, and you have to deal with that person. So I do think about the other person, and I don't want to use tiptoe like I'm trying to avoid hurting them or some sort. I just try to make everything clear. I try to make things clear and give like clarity, like, hey, can we talk about these things? And I have to make sure my heart is right going into it.
Yeah.
I have to make sure, like, I'm not thinking prideful, or as long as I'm thinking the best output for me, the best outcome for me and the other person in our relationship, as long as I'm thinking about that, then I believe, like, the communication that we'll have will be great because I'm creating a space for that person who is maybe a little less emotional or communicative. I'm helping them feel comfortable to where they can talk to me instead of me, hey, you didn't take out the trash last week, like I told you, blah blah blah. Instead, hey, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? Trying to get the full painting before you want to sell it or not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's actually super important when you are creating that safe environment, because then that will allow people to not feel like if they do something wrong, they're going to be chastised for it.
Right.
Creating that safe environment. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we as a people are a little emotionally unhealthy, because as kids, sometimes we aren't able to express our feelings and it be a safe environment. And I'm actually reading a book about how to handle people in different situations so that you still are able to give them the respect that they need, but also still listen to them and not take offense to whatever. But like, just communicating with people in a different way, but in a healthy way, that you'll actually get like the response you actually want, and not the response you need, and not the response you might just want, from that person.
Right. That's great. And I always think about it when it comes to having these conversations. Like, I'm fully aware and I'm like thinking about everything. But when the moment happens and all of a sudden it takes a turn that you didn't see coming, then that's like the kind of like turnaround.
Yeah.
Are my emotions like I kind of think like, oh wow, I didn't see this coming. I just thought it was gonna be smooth. Right. But it's just practice. It's just an endless practice that a lot of people don't want to put that work into because it deals with other people, and a lot of people find it easy to just let it go. You know, to let it go. But I feel like when you just let it go, you avoid those challenges that we need to face in order to develop and grow as beings.
Yeah, we want to live in our comfort zone. Nobody wants to actually look in the mirror and be like, oh, okay, I have like this big cut across my face. No, you don't want to have to look at your scars like that and have to face them and heal them, because then that's gonna cause you to have to go through a lot more discomfort and pain that you don't even want to have to face. I might not want to face that I had issues with my mom, but in order to be a good mom, I gotta face those issues. So I think that awareness, like you said, is what we have to have. And then if we don't, we lose people in our lives that are special to us. Like we lose those special relationships that were unique. And then, you know, we're constantly trying to find things to replace those relationships.
Right. And that's why there's a lot of mommy and daddy issues. You know? Yeah. So with that being said, with us having to deal with emotions, what are some healthy ways that you have when it comes to dealing with these emotions? What are some things that you like to do when dealing with your emotions, and then how you prepare yourself to talk to other people about it?
So for me, one main thing that I try to do is focus on the facts and not focus on the feelings so much. Like, even though my feelings are valid, what are the facts? This is the issue. This is the cold hard fact. And then I can say later, this happened and now this is the fact and this is how I feel about that. And like, just acknowledging those feelings. But the fact is what's most important, because if I don't understand what's happening, I'm not going to understand why I feel like this. So
you're not going to react correctly.
Right. Yeah, and facing how I'm feeling first before I even go talk to anybody else about it, journaling about it, getting it on paper, praying about it before I just let my feelings take over, because I feel like a lot of times when I do let my emotions just take over, it's always a bad outcome because I'm not thinking straight. I'm not going to God about it. I'm just reacting off how I feel in the moment when I haven't gathered the facts. So I try to keep that, even though I slip up sometimes, but I still just try to remember, like, stick to the issue, because you can get super sidetracked, especially if you're just letting your feelings go. Yeah.
So do you ever seek out other counsel before you approach a problem? Like, do you, like, in terms of maybe your relationship, do you ever like, man, this is how I'm feeling, maybe I should talk to a friend about it first to see, like, not see if your feelings are valid, how should I go about it? Or what do you like, I mean, how do you ever seek advice when it comes to your emotions?
Normally when it comes to my feelings, I don't really seek advice, but I do pray, because I always go to God. Like, whenever I just don't understand, because I know if I can't understand what's going on, the only person that can help me is Him. And He can just help me sort through exactly what I need to do in that moment, and just relying on Him. And like, that's the only person I normally like really rely on whenever I'm just feeling like I just can't sort through my own feelings, because I know He's not gonna steer me wrong. And then sometimes when I have went to talk to people in the past, and I just feel like I get so many mixed feelings, and it's not based on facts. But recently I did go talk to my mom, and I talked to my mom and my stepdad, and I feel like they both gave me like facts, you know, because, and it's like going to somebody who's been there, who can help you through that. I'm trying to do a little more, because normally I don't depend on people. And that's, I feel like, a weakness at times, because sometimes, So that's something that I'm actually trying to do more, because sometimes I can depend on people, you know, and sometimes like I'll pray on it and then I'll just be thinking like I should talk to this person, I should talk, and then like my mom, and then I went and talked to her and then she helped me. So now just like relying, like still going to God, but then like if he is putting somebody on my heart that I can trust and talk to, like actually going to talk to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. How about you? Do you feel like you go talk to different people about how you feel and kind of to sort through to see if those feelings are valid?
Yeah, I see that you're a eternal processor. You'll think it through it with yourself. You'll deal, but I'm more verbal. I'm definitely a verbal processor. I like to express how I feel, and then like hear other people's sides. See different angles to it, different perspectives. I always find that's been helpful to me, but like you said, but I think it's wise to seek wise counsel. Yeah. So like I'm not going to go to somebody who's emotionally unstable about my emotions. Right. I'm not going to go to somebody who's never been in a relationship to speak on my relationship. It's just like you're going to get horrible information. You're going to get horrible insight. And then if you're not, and I feel like, and if you're not wise in that, like how are you going to be really wise in making the right choice about this certain situation? Exactly. So I noticed that flaw about myself, in a sense. Yeah, maybe I ruminate too much. On what's going on, and I do kind of speak on it to different avenues of people a little bit. So I just have to. I've been really getting better at who should I seek out, whose advice should I really take, who should I really listen to, and yeah, I do have my people. Yeah. When it comes to this, or that, if I want to talk about basketball, I'm hitting up,
Yeah, you got your people.
I got my people. So I just had to learn. But that's also how I kind of dealt with emotions, just by expressing it. So just venting helped me tremendously. And that's why I would just go to anybody, because I kind of just wanted to vent. Because like you said, I go to God. For, he's my number one. He's the one who I really do go to. But other than that, emotional support, when I come to vent, like I just want really to, somebody to talk to. Yeah. Have you experienced this, or do you feel me on this? Am I tweaking?
Right, right.
Yeah. All right. So with all this being said, Tyra, what's the point of this conversation? Why are we having this conversation?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of times we say like, we put so much emphasis on physical health, and, there's so many at the beginning of the year, we getting our gym memberships and everything together, but it's our emotional health, our mental health, our emotional health especially is just super important, and we don't put enough emphasis on that. And being able to communicate with the people in our lives, being able to communicate in a professional setting, being able to communicate with ourselves, all those things are very important, and how we handle our emotions on like an intimate level is just important for our future, and not only for us, but even how we handle the emotions of others and how we handle the emotions of the people in our lives. For me, it's just like one of the most important things, and I see as I'm getting older how important it is. Why do you think this is such an important topic at this moment?
At this moment in time, I believe it's so important because it's been, I feel like for men, we just haven't, I can speak for myself. Like, I haven't been raised to treat emotions finely. I thought, if I'm able to just control myself, even though I'm feeling angry, then I'll be okay. But in terms of learning how to express and everything, I feel like it's so important just to know yourself. Becoming so self-aware and being able to manage yourself is so appropriate in this day and age, because we have so much knowledge to acquire, and it's like you have no reason not to know this stuff. You have no reason not to grow and not to continue to evolve as a human being, and to continue to renew yourself each and every day. And I think it's a matter of knowing who you are as an emotional person. Yeah. And me and Tyra, we took an emotional intelligence test at what was it, at the beginning of October or something? Yeah,
the beginning of
and after that, I had read this book on emotional intelligence, And after I had read and practiced, a few weeks later, I retook the test and I actually increased scores. I went from a 70 EQ score of 77, and after I read the book and practiced, it bumped it up to a 93. So like emotions, it's just like working out your emotions is just like working out physically. You have to monitor what you are lacking. You have to monitor what you're slacking in.
Right.
You have to feel yourself. You have to maneuver accordingly as well and adjust and be aware. Awareness is so key when it comes to handling your emotions, and it's like I feel like it's so important today because we're not aware that emotions are so important to evolving professionally and personally.
Yeah, and I don't think, honestly, like growing up, I never learned about emotions. I never learned about how to handle my emotions, especially as a kid. Like, I don't ever remember someone sitting down with me telling me not to handle something this way, not to handle it that way. I was just kind of just doing what I thought was best. So now that we have the knowledge and the information, it's great that we're able to kind of be a vessel to then pour out and, you know, be there for people who might be in the same situation that we were in, you know, a few months ago. So I think that's like great.
Yeah,
that we're able to.
And to piggyback on that, it's like it's a never ending process of learning and applying. Yeah. And so it's like you can't neglect this sort of thing. It's something that if you want to have a relationship, a long lasting relationship, a healthy relationship, you have to be healthy emotionally, mentally, physically, to flourish in with other people, to have union with other people. Like what? Yeah, it's so important. Yeah,
and sometimes we get into a habit of, I would say, like, when I felt like I wasn't emotionally healthy, like constantly blaming somebody else and not really looking at what I needed to work on. And now I'm at a place where it's like, okay, I can, in a healthy way, admit like, oh, you know what? I understand what you're saying, and that was my mistake. And now I know, like, just learning from our mistakes and being able to move forward and not like holding, like I said earlier, holding somebody in contempt for their feelings, you know, telling other people how they should feel when really, no, you just sometimes have to accept somebody else's feelings even when we don't agree with them.
Yeah, that's real. So on that note, as we're coming to a close, what's going to be our journal assignment? What are we...
So for this week's journal assignment, I definitely think it's important. I'll leave a link to the test that we took in case anybody wants to take that. I'll leave it in the description below. And then another thing, so after you take the test, it'll give you a few things that you need to work on. They were called...
Strengths and limitations.
Okay, yeah, the strengths and limitations. Yeah, once you get those, it's basically like you're identifying the traits that are basically that you need to work on, or that might be displeasing to God, or, you know, that are just things that you really believe that you need to work on for yourself in order to get better. And I just say, definitely just asking for forgiveness over those things, you know, because this might be how you've been for a while, and then asking God to heal you of these tendencies, and then just giving God the permission to do whatever he needs to do in your life to make you whole so that you are able to heal and move forward, and then just having the faith that God is working in your life, and then just holding on, because like no matter how bad things get, like God is gonna continuously be there for you, and it's not going to be an easy transition. Like, you know, you're going to be out of your comfort zone, you're going to be vulnerable in the sense that you're now opening yourself up to work on these these, low points in yourself. And, life may get very tough, but not giving up on God and saying, I just give up, this is too hard, but sticking it out and seeing how far you could push through to become that person, and then retaking the test and seeing where you are. Because I feel like this is a test that I might want to take every year just to kind of see where I am. Because I feel like with emotions, you can always go backwards, just like with your mental health and physical health. So definitely just maintaining where we are and holding ourselves accountable. And so yeah, that's the journal assignment. And you all can hit us up if you have any questions. And thank you. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Alrighty, and we will catch y'all next week.